Hello, my name is Robert O'Quinn. I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation today on urban policing. My introduction and definitions are urban policing, policing techniques used in densely populated areas is the definition of urban policing. The current state of urban policing relies on relationship building and making citizens and community members as additional resources. Urban policing depends on high visibility, approachability of officers. This is community-oriented policing. Community policing. Officers are highly visible and accessible. Officers work with citizens to prevent and investigate crimes. They build relationships with police officers and which creates community trust. Community policing creates community accountability as well for crime stats. And it's proactive regarding crime, public disorder, and problem solving. One of the examples I'd like to use in my presentation is the Lakewood Police Department in Ohio. They created a program where they placed 4 officers in 4 wards of their community. They gave them offices, cell phones, email addresses, and they gave them offices within those communities so that the residents would have access to them. For visibility, the officers rode on their bikes, their squad cars, and they did foot patrols. And during the time that they were doing the foot patrols and riding their bikes, they addressed quality of life issues and problems that were non-emergencies. The crime rates have decreased as a result of the program in Lakewood. The Metropolitan Transit Authority in New York City hired William Bratton to come in and do to take over the Metropolitan Transit Authority so that he could clean up that department, because they were losing millions of dollars because people were hopping turnstiles they weren't paying. They were harassing the riders. They were a lot of crimes were occurring on the trains, and people weren't riding them anymore. So their profits they were losing millions of dollars. And some of the things that he did was he polled the officers and citizens to ask what they felt would help to resolve the problem. He provided officers with resources that they never had. And he created undercover teams to enforce ridership, especially the turnstile hopping. He also rode trains had teams to ride trains to deter criminal activity and harassment, and he created warrant teams that would go out and arrest people that had previously committed crimes on the trains and what weren't showing up in court. When he took over in New York City, he realigned the entire leadership staff. He hired a public information officer. He assessed needs of the community by polling the residents and the police officers. He instituted a sting to help get rid of dirty cops. He developed a system of precinct commanders that all officers answered to. He had weekly meetings with his command staff about strategic measures for specific areas. He gave commanders the autonomy to make decisions in their specific precincts, and he addressed quality of life issues and instituted a phone line to report these issues rather than just 911. He created a non-emergency number as well. In Elgin, they also created a community policing program called the Resident Officers Program of Elgin. Officers resided in specific communities that were owned by the city, in homes that were owned by the city. Resident officers were responsible for investigating any and all crimes that occurred within their specific neighborhood. They addressed quality of life issues. They developed a line of communication with businesses and in the neighborhoods. They created community sports programs for students in the summer. They created a crisis management team for things like shootings that occurred in their neighborhoods. Officers worked as dare officers as well in the local elementary schools. Officers acted as mentors to school-aged children in their neighborhoods, and officers instituted a Scare Straight program to help some of the students that had kind of gone down the wrong road. Relationship to prosecution. In regards to urban policing, the police are responsible for providing thorough investigation, reliable evidence, and using witnesses appropriately. Police work with prosecutors to ensure that alleged criminals' rights aren't infringed upon when obtaining the solid evidence they need to successfully prosecute criminals. Relationship to defense. Police make certain that the rights of the offender weren't violated. They make certain that Miranda warnings are given at each arrest. They provide thorough evidence, and they provide extra surveillance for protection when rival gang members move back into the neighborhoods. Relationship to penal institutions. They work with probation officers when criminals were released to ensure compliance with the law. And an example of that is criminals that are released from jail and that are gang members aren't allowed to hang around other gang members. So the police made it their business to make certain that they weren't hanging around them, and whenever they did, they contact their probation officer and have them violated and sent back to prison. They work with offenders that are transitioning back into the community through reentry programs. They help offenders find jobs after returning from incarceration. In conclusion, community involvement is essential to effective policing. Community policing eliminates the us versus them mentality. It allows priorities to be addressed in a timely manner. It takes into account the needs of the community, and is proven to be a successful tool in fighting crime regardless of the community. And I believe it's here to stay. Thank you very much.